Hi everyone, we're at day 24 and this marks the conclusion of Spellbinder's 2023 Crafty Advent Calendar. And it has been so much fun with amazing products. And we're finishing up with this beautiful whale die cut set. This background will be created with the gel printing plate and a brayer. I'm working with Distress Oxide inks and I'll start with fossilized amber and take the brayer, pick up the ink and give a nice coating of ink right across the gel plate. Next I'll apply dried marigold. This time I'll focus the ink on the upper portion of the gel plate. The final ink that I'll be using is Faded Jeans. This will be applied with a paper pouncer to the lower area of the gel plate. To add some texture, I'll use a fan brush, pick up some water, and tap it on the lower area of the plate. I have some gold mica powder from one of Lindy's magical powder sets. I've added a bit of water to it. When the paper goes down, these spatters will spread out, so you don't want too many. I'm laying down a piece of oversized Bristol Smooth cardstock. I've chosen Bristol Smooth because it can withstand some moisture and it won't pill. And I give it a good rub and then I can peel the panel up. This is a dancing ocean scene, so I'm going to add in some white spatter now using Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. I've watered it down slightly, it's quite a thick medium, and again using a fan brush, apply it quite liberally across the entire panel. When the panel is dry, it will be trimmed down so that it measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I'm creating a killer whale, so the main body was cut from black cardstock, the underbody out of white, and then the additional fin out of black. On the back of the whale along that dot detail, I added in some small strips of white cardstock. I'll be using the birthday stamp set from day 13. It's going to be stamped on vellum paper. I'll start off with the main sentiment, Happy Birthday, stamp it with Versamark ink, coat it with copper embossing powder, and then melt it with the heat tool. The secondary sentiment will be centered right above the Happy Birthday, but this time I will stamp it with black VersaFine ink. Ink can take a while to dry on vellum paper and I don't want to smear it, so I'm going to coat it with clear embossing powder. And then I'll go ahead with my heat tool and melt it. The sentiment will be wrapped around the panel. I made sure that my vellum was wide enough so that I would be able to do this. All I have to do is cut it into a strip. I'm using the Tim Holtz guillotine. I love that it has a press plate. I especially appreciate this when I'm working with vellum. When the blade comes down and hits that paper, it sometimes can slip without it. The sentiment is centered in the upper portion of the panel. One end is creased over the panel's edge, and then holding the vellum tightly, I crease the other side. This will help the vellum lay flat. Scotch tape on the back of the panel will hold the ends in place. Before I tape the other end, I make sure that the sentiment is aligned. The panel is adhered directly to an A2 size black card base. The whale is going to be adhered with foam squares. He's positioned so that his tail will be out of the ocean. When the panel was cut down, I had some of the blue area left, enough so that I could cut the water drop details from it. The water droplets that create the big splash of the tail are adhered directly to the panel. When I put the strips of white cardstock along the dotted detail on the whale's back, I also made sure that I covered the eye. Now I can give him a shiny eye with black Nouveau drops. If I had not backed the eye with cardstock, the Nouveau would dimple. And that concludes Spellbinder's Crafty Advent Calendar for 2023. I hope you enjoyed my take on all of these crafty products. I wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and as always, I appreciate your visit.